Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way. Gotta take it on my way.
Hello.
Morning, beloved.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How's the weather in England?
Earlier this morning, nicer than it is now. It was all doors, all windows. Then it went all grey for the weekend. Then, just when I was going to moan to you today about the weather, it perked up a bit. And I made the stupid mistake of going online at one point and Googling, what's the weather going to be like? And it said, it's going to be colder than Moscow. So you have to laugh, don't you?
You do a bit, yes.
You have to keep your sense of humour about you.
Yeah, you do. And perhaps it's better not to know the weather and live in perpetual hope.
Well, and actually then it was better than they said, which is what often turns out to happen.
Yeah.
But actually, that I did have a bad moment when I thought, oh, more grey.
Yeah, it's been grey here the last few days, you'll be pleased to hear.
Okay, and next week's going to be nicer. As we go towards Easter, it's going to be nicer. Sunshine yesterday, a bit this morning. Our next sunny day is not till Saturday, which is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, well, you never know. They might be wrong.
They're probably wrong.
They were about that big storm, weren't they?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So what's your week been like?
Well, I've got a rant.
Oh, good.
Did you see yesterday? I'm hoping you're going to say no in a funny sort of way, but if you say no, then I'll just have to break the bad news to you. That the Americans, and then speedily followed by us, have banned laptops in the aeroplane with you.
Have banned laptops in the aeroplane?
They can go in the hold, they can't come in the cabin with you.
You're joking?
Now, one moment, caller, let me calm you down a bit. It's not every airline, it's mostly Middle Eastern ones. So, for instance, if you get on or off an aeroplane that goes to or from America or the UK, in Morocco, Egypt, Turkey, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, which probably doesn't affect you. In a moment, I'm going to explain to you what that does. You can't take your laptop or your Kindle or your tablet in the plane with you. You can take your smartphone and nothing else. And this apparently is a reaction to a terrorist threat from ISIS or IS or IS or Daesh, or they go under about 3 different names. And the Americans went first and then we followed after that. And of course, the thing is that I couldn't travel if I couldn't take my laptop with me in the cabin, not because I need it in the cabin, but I daren't put it in the hold. Have you seen what they do to suitcases? They play football with them, don't they?
Well, I mean, what about me who's going via Dubai to...
Well, exactly my point. Dubai is one of the places. So we're going to have to rethink this. And I've got an answer already, but let's just start with the rant, okay? So let's say, basically what they're saying is they can, you, me, ISIS, can set off a bomb using a laptop. I don't believe they can do it with an iPad. So why iPads have been abandoned, I don't know. But if they can do it with a laptop in the plane, they can do it with a laptop in the hold.
Yeah, and also they can do it with a smartphone if they can do it with a laptop.
I totally agree, and also they can do it with a smartphone. And all the newspaper articles say, this is a terrible inconvenience to business people who won't be able to work on the plane. We don't take them with us in the plane because we want to work on the plane. We take them with us because we dared put them in the hold.
Well, and also, I honestly could not travel for any distance at all without something to occupy.
I totally agree. So there's multiple implications of this, and I lay awake last night, a bit cross. Because immediately, a nice girl I know who lives in Turkey, who was trying to fly to London today, says, would you put your laptop in the hold? No, is the answer. You wouldn't put your laptop in the hold. Have you been on YouTube and looked at those videos of how the baggage handlers use suitcases like footballs? I mean, no, you wouldn't do that. You not only would your laptop probably not arrive because you're not allowed to lock your suitcases if you're going to America, but if they did arrive, they'd just be, I don't know how to say this word politely, but it begins with an F and ends with a D.
I can. I mean, they honestly, they are so.
Wait a minute. So this is in response, apparently, to a terrorist threat. The point is, what's the difference between the laptop with the bomb in it, in the hold, it's still going to take the plane down, isn't it?
Well, are they saying that it's got a bomb in it, or that they're detonating the bomb from the laptop?
No, they're saying they have the capacity to pack explosives into a laptop.
Well, I don't know how. Mine's so thin, you couldn't possibly pack it.
Well, absolutely right. It certainly couldn't go on in an iPad, could you?
Probably not enough to bring a plane down.
No, exactly. And the point is, if you can certainly, if it's a detonator and you're right, it's about detonation, then they can do it with a smartphone.
Yes.
It's nonsense.
It is a nonsense. And it's a worry.
Nonsense.
I'm off to Brisbane.
Well, you're absolutely right. Immediately I said, well, she won't worry about it because she thinks it doesn't affect her. But if she's changing planes in Dubai, it definitely affects her.
Well, I am changing planes in Dubai.
Well, there you go.
Or am I? I can't remember.
Well, now, here we go. Let's have a think about this. So last night in bed, I thought to myself, well, how can we get around this? Well, what it means is that in future, and you and I are quite well set up for this, we won't take our hardware with us anywhere. We'll just use hardware where we are. But because everything we've got is on the cloud, it's not on our gadget.
Yeah, but we can't. I mean, you'd have to hire a laptop for a week.
Yes, you would.
Which isn't cheap.
Well, no, but I think what it would mean is if none of us can fly with computers, then hotels and places like that. So, for instance, when I look at renting places in St Martin, quite a lot of them come with computers in. So my second thought last night was, that means I won't have to carry my laptop. I'll just log into the computer at the villa and use it from there. So we'll probably just have to have a rethink about how we run our lives. And we're ahead of the game here, you and I, because our data isn't local.
It's a huge business opportunity for someone to rent laptops to business travellers.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, it's not even to business travellers. It's to everybody. Even children want to use their iPad on the aeroplane.
Yeah, they do now.
Okay, so they're entertainment devices. So, but actually, they're 10 a penny, aren't they? These devices, they're not. The actual gadgetry isn't very expensive. Why I'm clutching it to me in the plane is because of the potential. It's a doorway, a gateway.
Broken, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But Dan set me up ages ago so that if I dropped it in the pond, you just buy a new one wherever you are and immediately back online again. We're going to have to think about this because, of course, at the moment it's only Middle Eastern countries and it's only America and the UK. But actually, it's only just going to get worse because what they say all the time that they do with these rules is to protect us. I mean, airports are already, to my view, dreadfully stressful places. I mean, going to St Martin, where I have to change planes, first of all checking at Heathrow and then change planes an hour later in Paris, where we have to, within an hour at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning, put ourselves through this hell of belts off, shoes off, laptops out, iPads out, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do that twice in an hour. This is only going to get worse, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you just knocked me sideways with that little bit of news.
I know. Well, I knew that. So I know you don't follow the news as much as me. And I thought, oh, shit. Better tell her about it because
I've booked my flight. It's too late.
Well, I looked at this thing. I mean, you can put it in the hold, and of course, you can get terribly, terribly, terribly butch cases for them to go in.
It's not the point. It's the point of 26 hours in the air with nothing to do.
You'll have to do it with your all of that on your smartphone or watching films in your seat back.
Oh, it's so hard to read on a smartphone. I like the Kindle on the iPad.
What's the date? Well, that's why I use an iPad instead of a smartphone. What's the date of your travel?
June, mid-June.
It could be rescinded by then. They could change their minds about then because it's going to be international outrage.
It's going to cause havoc. Absolutely.
What's really annoying about this reading it is and what will business people say when they can't use their computers in the plane? Sod them. We don't take our laptops on the plane because we want to do business on the plane necessarily. We take them because we can't let them go into the system.
And also, what will happen is people will simply start booking flights using different hubs. So the Middle Eastern airlines will. I mean, it's a good time to.
Yeah, well, what they do. One of the arguments is that actually this has got nothing to do with terrorism at all.
It's just control.
It's got to do with, for instance, the Americans went first. It means that if you fly on Delta, for instance, I don't know that Delta even exists. If you fly on a US airline, you wouldn't be penalised. If you flew on a Etihad or Middle Eastern airline, you would. So it could be consumer I don't know what you call that, where you promote your...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the first article I read, but the fact is it doesn't really matter why they're doing it, they've done it, and we're going to be inconvenienced. Now, also, the other thing here, I don't know about your phone, because it says smartphone, okay, then it says larger device, which is something in between a smartphone and a tablet. Now, a larger device, I mean, some people's smartphones are quite big.
Well, I've got an iPhone 6 Plus, so that's as large as it gets apart from an Android.
If that's 16 centimetres by 9.3, you can't take that in the cabin either.
Oh, I'm going to have to cancel this.
You know, it's something to think about, isn't it?
Looking around for a tape measure, which of course I don't have.
But actually, what I think it means for me is something better. It means, I don't have to cart all that heavy equipment around the world with me. I'll just use it when I get to the other end. And it'll be like going into the library or going into the business centre or whatever it is.
Oh, this is the end of my world, Judith. This is almost as bad as if the internet had shut down.
Well, I tell you what I wonder, does it mean if you go to duty free at Heathrow and buy yourself a new smartphone, a new tablet, a new Kindle and a new laptop, you can't actually take them on the plane with you?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Now you have to put it in the hold and have them nicked.
Well, you'd never see that package again at the other end, would you?
No, you bloody wouldn't. I know several people who've been on, and arrived on the cruise with no.
Well, and somebody said last night, would you trust your business to the hold? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I know. Well, now I can understand why you've had a rant. I really can.
Well, I know.
You've ruined my mood for the rest of the show.
Well, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, but sometimes we like a little rant in this first section. It's as ever. It's unjoined up thinking. And the thing at airports that's been going on for decades now, where you've got to, be there for 3 hours because you've got to, declare your knitting needles or whatever it is. It's just so ridiculous to be so many gazillions of people commercially and personally inconvenienced is not worth the saving, to be honest.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? And it's already bad enough having to go through those bloody full body scans.
I totally agree. It's all a wretched imposition. Now, Linda, lovely Linda, who's a sailor, she said to me, you would be amazed, Judith, at the number of ports that we go into in the yacht. And we don't go through customs, nobody looks at our passport, nobody stamps our passport. No. So actually, if you do it by sea, you're probably all right, to which I said, well, rather too slow. Rather too slow for me. The other solution, of course, is a private jet.
Yes, and then you don't get checked at all, do you?
No.
So all the terrorists are probably travelling by private jet anyway.
Well, then you see, the thing is, I don't know that they are, because, this whole point about this is, they're blowing themselves up, which terrorists do. So even if you went by, there's no point to be terrorist in this example going by private jet, because the point of it is to blow yourself up. And you want to take, if you're going to do that, you want to take as many people with you as possible. Yeah.
I don't know what.
I thought we'd start off with a nice meaty rant. So, Nicola, tell me about your week.
Well, I don't know if I've got any energy to do that, Judith.
Well, I know. I'm so sorry.
Well, you never know. It might pick us up, my one, because I've had a new business idea, and I want.
Did you hear that sharp intake of breath then?
Yeah, absolutely. I have put myself into Dan Norris's mastermind and said, talk me down off this one, but unfortunately I haven't. They all loved it. So here's the thing, right? I've been looking, as you know, for my offer that converts, which is a way of getting people to experience my mentoring via my membership site. And I found it. I've done several webinars over the last few weeks, and the one that's converting best from cold traffic Facebook ads is the Be Everywhere Online webinar.
Yeah.
Where it's so funny because I've known about this system since I worked with Neil, and I use it myself to some degree, largely most of the time. And it works. And the reason I know it works is because when I worked with Inga, when I started Clicks and Leads and I got a load of clients all at once, I hired Inga to do my social media marketing. And so what she did was she took every bit of content and she repurposed it for every platform. And
it's funny because I've been talking to a client about this morning because I knew we were going to slightly discuss this today. I said, you'll need to listen to this week's podcast because we're going to talk about it. Yeah. And so I've been running I did the webinar. It went very well. I recorded it because I've got internet issues here. We have this thing where the sound drops out occasionally, but I was able to edit most of it out. So I've been running it on automatic. And last night I figured out that you can actually sit and do the chat. You can monitor the chat while the webinar is going on, which is better than having the chat turned off because people stress out about the fact their chat is disabled.
and then they don't listen to the content. So it's better to run the webinar on an automated basis, so you don't have to actually sit and do it at week, day after day, week after week, but you could be there to answer any questions in the chat. So I did that. Anyway, it's converting brilliantly. I'm making a profit on Facebook ads, so every bit I'm reinvesting X amount of what I make each week into Facebook ads to fill up the next week's webinar. And then they're coming into the membership site. They're going through the 6-week thing. They've got 12 weeks support. And, I'll be interested to see after 12 weeks how many stay on. That's the goal, is to build up the membership site gradually.
I haven't got to the new business idea yet, have I?
Yeah. You're coming to it right now.
Right, I'm ready. I'm so ready. Come on.
Okay. Well, several people have asked me, it sounds like a lot of work. I don't really want to have to manage outsourcers. Can you do it for me?
Can you do what for me?
The system that I teach them in the Be Everywhere online tuition training.
Oh, this is always the risk, isn't it? It's always, do we want to teach other people how to do it, or do we want to do it for them? Yeah.
Theoretically, we want to teach them how to do it. But the problem is that a lot of people on the call get to a point where they just think, I couldn't manage this, or I can't find the outsourcers, or I don't want to manage outsourcers, or, can you just do it for me? So yeah. I was thinking about this because obviously the Facebook ads, work to some degree, but I was reliant on whether they had a product offer that converts and a back end funnel. So that was the problem with that. And I just went off the whole idea once Steve died. But interestingly enough, there was another thing that happened, which was that inquiries dried up completely. And I wasn't sure if that was because Steve had died and everyone didn't want to bother me, or whether it was because Inga had stopped working for me the month before because she wasn't very well. So my social media activities ceased completely. And I've never been able to puzzle out which one it was.
I bet it's the second one.
What?
Inga.
Yeah, I think it is too, because she made sure I was everywhere online, and it was all branded clicks and leads, and it used to bring a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So anyway, that traffic turned into customers. So this is relevant in a minute. I'll tell you why in a minute. So I put a little thing in the webinar that says, about halfway through, that says, does all this sound like a bit too much work? Would you like us to do it for you? And it takes them to an application form where they just fill in a bit about their business, and I'll have a look and I'll see if, I think that their business would benefit from it. Because it is something that could be 100% outsourced to a team of outsourcers, because I could never find anyone apart from Sarah who could do Facebook ads as well as me. And that's because it's an interesting combination of being obsessive, geeky.
But this doesn't involve Facebook ads, does it?
No, it doesn't. No. Well, it could do. Right. It could do on the side. But the point is that this is something where the client could simply do what I do with Phoebe and deliver 3 bits of video, 1 bit saying how their week's been, 1 bit saying what they've got on, what they've got on their blog, etc., and a middle bit which is like a 5 to 10 minute lesson. And the 5 to 10 minute lesson gets spun off into transcripts, articles, notes, LinkedIn articles, blog posts. The audio of that bit gets turned into a podcast, and all of that can be done by other people once I've got the system set up. So I was getting a little bit enthusiastic about it there, because I was thinking, I don't actually have to do anything that involves me uniquely. The bit that, is the unique bit is generated by the client every week.
And have you got either an Inga or a couple of Ingas?
I could have very easily, because what used to happen was Neil would deliver 2 blog posts and we would take it and turn it into absolutely everything.
Well, that's my question. Does it need to begin with a video? No, it can begin with 2 blog posts.
It can, and it can begin with an audio as well. So it can begin with whatever the client's most comfortable with, and then it's spun off everywhere.
Okay, so next, of course, I want to discuss, and I don't necessarily want to discuss it on the podcast, but I need to know, what do we need to pay? What do you need to pay the Ingas? And what does the client need to pay you, so I can see the profit margin in the middle?
The most expensive bit's the video editing and turning it into something good enough for YouTube. But the rest of it could be managed very cheaply, because we did with, when we had Raw Local, I used to, have all these outsourcers that just did 1 bit of it, largely charging $5 to $10 an hour. Yeah, because they were only doing their 1 bit, and then my VA Patricia used to coordinate the whole process. So
I quite like this idea, and of course you could offer 3 packages, no more, couldn't you?
You could, exactly. So anyway, let's not go too detailed yet. Although I would love to have that discussion with you afterwards.
Yeah, fine.
What I'm trying to do is even work out whether I should move it along. So I thought, next step, go and see if there's a domain name.
Go and see if there's what?
A domain name available.
Okay.
beeverywhereonline.com was available, which I find
nice.
interesting. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So,
Yep.
and I can't believe it because Pat Flynn talks about being everywhere online. I can't believe no one snapped it up.
Well, no, you have, presumably, have you now?
Yes. So the next thing was, I've got one client who comes from a very big corporate background, and she was on one of the webinars, and she heard me say about, she saw this little thing, and she popped up and emailed me extensively saying this would be exactly what I'd be looking for, because she does, no social media whatsoever. And then she threw a massive bucket of cold water over the idea, because she said, well, I don't know if it's just her because of the background she comes from, but she started talking about how she used to get people writing blog posts for her for $35 for 2 a week, and how would you measure the ROI of each social media platform. And she immediately went so detailed, it put me right off, because how can you measure the ROI?
Then don't just say, the proof of the pudding's in the eating. Give it a minimum of 3 months or 6 months or something and see.
Yeah, because if you need a social media presence.
Well, you tell them what I always tell them, which is that social media is both random and scientific.
Yeah.
Some is measurable. The only thing that annoys me about the podcast is that we can't measure anything. How, when we get a spike, we don't know why we've got a spike.
Yeah.
So not all social media is measurable.
No, it isn't. And the ROI on it, I mean, the thing, Sarah and I were talking about it, and she was saying, that if you've got a client who's got a product that sells, they're presumably making X amount of month turnover and profit, and then they invest X amount in this service, and they'll be able to see whether they turnover and profit goes up, won't they?
Well, yes, measure increase it, and ask each incoming lead how they heard about you.
Well,
and that won't be definitive, but it'll be good enough.
Possibly.
And if that's not good enough for them, they're not your ideal client. Goodbye.
Yeah, totally, yes. Okay, so
they've got to understand what entrepreneurial life is all about. It's about having a go and seeing what difference it makes.
The problem is that entrepreneurs are not going to be able to afford this service.
No, I don't think that's true necessarily. That's why we want to talk about afterwards about pricing.
Okay.
Isn't
All
it?
right, cool. All right. So
I think entrepreneurs are, but actually it's how you use the definition of that word.
Yes.
So Richard Branson is an entrepreneur, for instance.
Oh, yes, okay.
What you mean is micro businesses won't necessarily choose to afford it. That's fine. They're not our ideal client.
Yeah. I think the people who know that they need to do something social media wise will recognise.
And to be honest with you, Nicola, you don't need to make a massive business out of this. If you just did it for 1, 2 or 3 clients to see if you liked it, and then up it from there.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Oh, well, there you go. That was interesting, wasn't it? So that was my week. I've been mulling about that one.
I do quite like that idea, by the way. I'm surprised you kept it till Wednesday. It's rather good. You should have PM'd me.
Yeah, I only had the idea on Monday.
Oh, right. Okay. It's quite a good one. I like it. I don't like all ideas these days.
No, I had to secure the domain name first.
Yes, no, that's a good one.
Right. Okay. So we're on to what's fueled your fire.
Do you want to go first?
Well, mine's going to be quite quick. It comes out of what we've just been talking about, actually.
Okay.
I've had Webinar Jam for 2 years. It's a fantastic, 2 or 3 years probably. It's a fantastic platform that enables you to run webinars live. It used to go through Google Hangouts, and it was a bit clunky and very slow and difficult to use. I've picked it up again this year thinking, let's have a go. It's effortless and easy to set up once you know what you're doing, and it's a very robust platform, and thousands of people can get on your webinar. There's no limitations on that, and then you can turn that webinar after you've edited it into a recurring webinar. And then the thing I found out yesterday that makes all the difference is you can man the chat yourself, or
I like the idea of manning the chat, because actually, as we discovered when we were doing the summit, ironically, it's impossible to be everywhere online when you're doing a webinar, isn't it? Because you've got to be focused on the content.
Yeah, that's right. And someone said last night, "Oh, you're doing very well talking and typing."
Yes.
So I just said, or I might have a VA helping me, but actually,
yes, yeah. But actually, it's a virtual event, which is a webinar, is no different in that regard. I always found real live events very difficult when you had to be in charge of logistics, warmly pressing people by the hand who came up and said, "Oh, I've read your newsletter forever. I'm so excited."
Yeah.
Whilst you were focused on delivering content from the stage and giving people their money back who haven't turned up, or taking money of people, it's all too much, isn't it? For one woman, she can only do one thing well at one time, I think.
Yeah, well, I think this is great because you can do the webinar live, which has got a sense of excitement and gives you a different animation.
Yeah,
definitely more animated live, and then you can turn it into a slicker recording without. Oh, can you hear me? No, she can't hear me. All that.
Oh, I don't know why people do that. Why don't I go on a lot of webinars for one project I'm involved in, and the thing they do at the beginning is, "Oh, can you hear me?" nonsense. Why do we do that?
Well, they're trying to kill time for a few minutes until the latecomers arrive.
Yeah, it's now dull.
Yeah. But you can edit those bits out if it goes on too long. And
that's another bugbear of mine. Don't wait for the latecomers. That's their fault. Start.
Yeah, but some people have technical issues getting on anyway. Anyway, the point is, if you tried Webinar Jam in the early days and you didn't get on with it because of the minute delay sometimes, go back and have another look at it. It's absolutely brilliant to use. I thoroughly enjoying using it, and it's great. So that's fueled my fire. The fact that I can try things out on a whim, quite short notice, and I mean, I filled some of my webinars in 2 days the other day. Just
quite a good reminder that things that we've tried once and didn't like are worth trying again later in life because they improve, they're better, we're different, we're in a better space. Yeah.
And people still love them. Judith, I was also cynical and jaded about webinars. I really, social media webinar, really? But people love it. And you've got to remember that people either want to be educated or entertained, or a bit of both. So a webinar is great entertainment for lots of people. It's something to do.
I hate webinars. I really hate going on them. I always get the recording. I can't bear them. But I hear what you say.
Well, I do too. I always register for them knowing there's going to be a recording. But I very rarely get around to watching the recording because the excitement of the whole thing has died by then. So, they are right when they say that you should make people attend live or not have a recording, because very rarely do you watch the recording. I know you,
and I'm the opposite. Yeah, so we've got to do it both ways then, haven't we?
Absolutely. Okay, what's fueled your fire?
Well, I had a Super Thursday, which actually it's still going on. We ladies and gentlemen listening, we record these on Wednesdays, 10 days before we publish. And so I spoke to Nicola last Wednesday, and on the following Thursday, I had what I'm calling a Super Thursday, when at least 50% of my clients, which is quite a large number of people, reported spectacular wins all on the same day. Not necessarily connected to our work together, except loosely. So, for instance, one of them was a dating excitement. That's got nothing to do with the work that I'm doing. But all this good news kept coming. Alice was shortlisted for the Royal Academy. Sam had some great feedback on her writing. Justina published a song and experimented with audio. I'm not going to say the lady's name, but she started dating a hunk. Amanda acted on something we've been reviewing for ages. Linda reported double her profits. It just went on and on and on and on and on. And it's like, oh my God, I can't. I'd said to them, I think I'm going to have to go down and lie down in the darkened room. And somebody said, I think we've broken Judith. We've tipped her over the edge.
Broken Judith.
It was just all so exciting. And basically it's all come from them being brave. In order to be shortlisted, you've got to enter. In order to publish a song, you've got to write a song and go to the songwriting classes and then put it out on audio, even though you're a bit anxious about it. In order to get good feedback about your writing, you've got to go to a class and offer up your writing in order to have feedback on it. In order to go dating, you've got to, kiss frogs. You know what I mean? They'd all done brave things, which had led ultimately to exciting results. And that fueled my fire.
That's brilliant. They nearly broke you with joy, Judith.
They did. It's like, oh, no more. Don't send anyone. Oh my God, I had another one. It's like that. And yesterday, Alice said to me, what do you want first, the good news or the good news? I said, I don't think I can cope with anymore. It just kept coming in waves. And honestly, I'm not taking the credit for this, but it's so lovely to work with people who are all having a rash of successes simultaneously.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I know how much you get, so much pleasure out of your.
Oh, I do. I mean, I frequently say to them that I could say every week in this section what's fueled your fire, my clients, basically.
Yeah.
I love human beings, good, bad, and evil, or not evil, actually, good and bad, and I especially love them, and I'm happy for them. I love being happy for them. It's great. It rubs off, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's great. And you sound fantastic. You sound really full of energy today. It's really
Well, that's really has kept me very upbeat, because it was going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I don't think Monday. I think Monday was quiet, but yesterday, Tuesday again, more of it.
Oh, nice. It is great, isn't it? I've had some lovely emails this week as well. Would you like to hear about 18 proven ways to enjoy a successful location-independent business and the freedom to live wherever you like? Own It The Summit is a pack of 18 dynamite interview recordings with globally successful entrepreneurs, sharing their secrets of the real laptop lifestyle. We handpicked each of these people to interview to show you how to set yourself free to design your ideal lifestyle, whether working from home or travelling the world, while running a successful virtual business that you absolutely love. Just visit ownitthesummit.com and get your hands on these life-changing recordings today. Okay, we're on to Client Challenge of the Week, which we're going to have to keep quite short because we've banged on.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. Well, then just explain it, and let's take it from there.
Well, one of the challenges, there were three challenges altogether. 2 we couldn't use for various reasons yet, and the third one was from someone who had invented a healthy kids snacking product and had invested obviously heavily in the business, and now has got them into shops, but had spent all their marketing budget.
Yeah. So is the challenge what to do when you've spent all of your marketing budget?
Yes.
I think there was another element to her challenge, which is that she's up against some really big brands who have unlimited marketing budgets.
Yes, which anyone would realise if they were going into the food market.
Well, they would. Let's not look at it specifically in terms of that product. Let's think about what you and I would do if we had fully spent our marketing budget for 2017 by the 22nd of March. You see what I'm saying? You've got another 9 months of 2017. You've spent your budget. What are you going to do?
Well, you've got
to be everywhere online, darling.
You have got to create content. You've got to. If you haven't got any money to spend on something, you have to invest time.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got any time and you haven't got any money, then nothing's going to happen. So you have to find a way of creating content that can then be leveraged, because nobody's going to take any notice of you in a very noisy world unless you can get people's attention. So what would actually, somebody else came up with some very good suggestions, which were to go to mummy bloggers and people who write, who have magazines around the parenting niche. And I know from my days with Pampers, when I was their work-at-home expert, that the mummy bloggers' reach is phenomenal. I mean, I sat in roomfuls of women who had, 70,000 on their mailing list, or if they didn't have mailing lists, they had 70,000 subscribers to their RSS feed, and they used to get hundreds of comments on every blog post they put out. So that definitely is a way to go. And there's handy top 100 lists of, all kinds of bloggers, so business bloggers, mummy bloggers, whatever. So yes, it's very easy to track these people down and make contact with them and send them samples of your...
I was going to say free samples, yes.
That's definitely the way forward, isn't it? The other thing is, I suppose, is PR, because PR is actually something that everyone thinks of as expensive and difficult to do. But actually, we know from my days at the Acacia when I got quite a lot of free PR, and then our day, Paula, who was doing...
Well, I was going to... we must recommend Paula's book here, Do Your Own PR by Paula Gardner, which is a very, very thin volume, which makes it perfectly clear that it's quite a simple process that any numpty can follow.
Basically, you have to do the who, why, what, how, when, and where, and you have to find the specific journalists that you want. I mean, I did this when I launched...
And you have to keep that list updated, because journalists move endlessly.
Yeah, they do. And a good place to go looking for journalists is Twitter. If you do an advanced search on Twitter, then if you look for the word journalist plus and then your keyword, and editor plus your keyword, and what's the other one they use? Can't remember. There's another word that they use. Anyway, you'll see it when you start researching people, and you'll very quickly be able to build a list of 20, 30, 100 journalists who specialise in the food.
But you know what Paula used to say? So you know what Paula used to say about PR? It was that the key to success was following up the press release with a phone call to said journalist.
Yes, and that's easy, that's a little more tricky, but it can be done.
It can definitely be done. You wouldn't want to do it, and I wouldn't want to do it. But don't bother with a press release if you're not going to follow it up.
And the other thing
make
is,
sure the person received it and that you're building a relationship with them. Because if they can't use it this time, they might use it next time. And they need, with PR, it's got to be repetitive. It's got to be monthly or quarterly or whenever you've got news.
Yeah, and you've got to make it easy on the journalist. You know, don't send your press release as a Word attachment to your email. Put the body of the thing in the email itself, and give, put things like for immediate release or for release after 21st of March, whatever. Realise that the journalist is going to probably want to pick up a phone to you, so make sure you include a mobile in it. And there's lots of different things which I'm sure Paula covers in.
They're all in Paula's book, and really it's a terribly simple formula. But don't bother to buy the book or read it or send a press release unless you're prepared to follow it up with a phone call tomorrow.
Well, I didn't follow any of mine up with a phone call, and I did get pressed, but perhaps
you can get results. But Paula, I've been to one of her half-day workshops as well. It's a key point of it, which is that they get tons of these, and they're not going to notice yours in amongst it all, unless you can find a way of building a relationship with them. Actually, classic supporter work would be great.
See, all of my everything is shouting. But how do you get their phone number when they're working freelance from home? But you don't need the phone. You could tweet them. You could find them honestly, they're all on Twitter. Every journalist on the planet's on Twitter. You can tweet them privately now without even being their friend. And you can find a way to follow up with them. And they're all on LinkedIn as well. So because they want to be headhunted. So you can get to them on LinkedIn or Twitter, definitely. Okay, so what else would we do apart from contacting bloggers, PR people?
You'd probably be all over social media like a rash with Facebook Lives and things like that.
Yes, and you would also be looking for influencers, not just bloggers. You could go to there's a little app called, I can't remember what it's called now. It's for Instagram. It's advanced search for Instagram. And if you do a search on Google for advanced search app Instagram, you'll find it, because I did. And it enables you to put in keywords, locations, and lots of other search criteria, because what you're looking for is influencers who've got, thousands and thousands and thousands of followers and good engagement. So what you're looking for is an influencer who's not bought all their followers or bought all their likes on Instagram, but who has genuine engagement, and puts things up and gets proper comments when they put things up. So and
of course, for this lady, healthy food is all the rage amongst these people, isn't it?
Yes, totally. Yes. So don't just think about influencers in the food space or the parenting space. Find influencers like the Merrymaker sisters, who are all about healthy eating. Let me just think about the rest of it. If your stuff's vegan, if it's gluten-free, that's another angle again. Go after those kind of influencers who talk about that stuff. Hashtags are fantastic for this sort of thing, for tracking people down like that. What else would I do? It's product placement, isn't it? Which you can't do on TV so much nowadays, but you can do with influencers. And
I'm just having a think here. I would probably look at, I think the gist of it was that she'd spent all of her money in launch or whatever it was. She got no marketing budget, and she was up against these big corporates who have bottomless budgets. And I'd be looking at what they were doing, and I would be seeking to differentiate myself from that.
Yeah, there's also...
Because actually, there's quite a backlash against... So if your healthy food product is produced by Unilever, for instance, that's not as attractive as it sounds.
No, it's not, because people don't...
Do you know what I mean? No, that's right. So I'd be looking at who is I don't believe in competition, but I might if I would produce a healthy kids product that I was struggling to get into a supermarket. I'd be looking at what they were doing and being completely... Because actually you do see some independent food brands, healthy food brands particularly, that do fantastically well on Facebook. Because I follow the Facebook page of almost everything that I buy and consume, and I keep an eye on what they do. And some people really impress me with what they do, and what they do distinguishes them from these corporate brand owners.
I've had two ideas while you were talking then.
Good.
One is that I would get a branding video made 3 minutes long, or even a minute long, and telling your origin story, because like you say, people want to know where their food comes from now. And the other one's gone completely out of my head. Oh my God.
But you can't have it made because you've got no budget, so you've got to make it yourself.
Well, or get a film student from your local college to make it for you. Someone like Phoebe who's just getting started and who wants stuff in their portfolio. And that would be another thing, is to not just tell your origin story, make a series of 1 minute ads or videos, not ads, videos, showing how the food is made, or interviewing the people who work with you and why they're so passionate about working with you. Make it about the people and the product rather than anything else.
And the passion.
Sorry?
And the passion.
The passion for it. It's nothing sexier than passion.
No.
One other thing, just before it goes out of my head, because it's threatening to as we speak. Is there anything, do you remember the Miller Lite story? About how they made a big deal. They sent an advertising bloke down there. It's a long story anyway. But they made a big deal out of the fact that their beer was made from pure mountain spring water. Well, actually, everyone's beer was made from pure mountain spring water, but nobody else had thought to say it. And I saw a fantastic example of that the other day on British television. Have you seen the almond milk adverts? Where they say that...
Yes, and there's a little bee that comes along and says, we're the only people that grow the almonds ourselves.
Exactly, which is a point of differentiation.
Yeah.
And it immediately made every other almond milk deeply suspicious. It made, I mean, if you're going to go and buy almond milk, you're going to want to buy the one where every almond that goes into that milk is grown in California.
And controlled by the producer rather than you don't know where it's been.
Totally, yeah. And I just thought that was a genius stroke of marketing, because it immediately made everyone else look like shysters.
So basically what we're saying here is no budget. You've got to be visible, and you've got to create the content yourself, and you've got to point up your points of difference and make it human. Yeah,
and that's what journalists will be looking for. When you do the PR angle, they'll be looking for the human interest story. They'll be looking for either the origin story of the founder, or they'll be looking for the reason why the founder, you know, perhaps it was that one of the founder's children wasn't very well and she wanted them to have healthy snacks. You've always got to put the human interest in there. You know, that's what journalists seize on. Yeah. I think we should rush on, Nicola, because we've been at this for 43 minutes. Okay, running out of time. Word of the week, then. You go first. Decisiveness. Okay. I had a call with a potential one-to-one client the other day, and he said, I've been flip-flopping backwards and forwards between this and this. And I asked him what the two things were. And I said, so why haven't you made a decision? And he said, oh, well, I don't know what the best one to make, the best decision to make is. And I said, well, anyone's better than none. So that's something that I think is important, is making a decision knowing that you can always rectify later if you need to. Okay. Did he feel comforted by that? I think he felt energised by the fact that someone was going to tell him what to do. Yeah, okay. Put a rocket up his bottom. Yeah. Exactly. My word is slow, because first of all I chose busy, and then I said, no, that's not really what I'm in. I've been so busy for so long, and now I'm less busy. I've got my workload down to 3 hours a day type of thing, which means I've got half a day off most days and Fridays off, which means I can introduce, because it's been so long since I've done them, what I'm thinking of as slow hobbies. I mean, I tend to think of myself as the person who hasn't got time to walk because I'm so busy I've got to get in the car. But actually I'm less busy now, so I could walk. And I don't want to do sitting down at my desk hobbies, and I don't want to do gardening. And if you're not addicted to something on Netflix at the moment, I've got time. And so what might they be? Don't know yet, but I'm going to go and discover some slow hobbies. That's very interesting, because I realised as we were walking back from the village yesterday that we don't have to be anywhere at a certain time here. And obviously, there's 12 o'clock 12 o'clock Greece once a week to talk to you, but that's pretty much it on the appointment front. So and I don't feel so stressed, because I used to feel like you, that I had to get everywhere really quick. Yeah, it's not stressy, isn't it? It's great. Yeah, absolutely. Slow hobbies. Talking of which, I'm going to a creative writing group this afternoon.
Oh, very nice.
I know. I've never written a novel in my life, never wanted to, but we'll see if
No.
I've got one in me.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you more about that next week.
Okay.
So, what is project updates? Right, I am prepped. Judith.
Now, calm down a bit, because although we've taken 46 minutes, we're both speaking at the rate of knots. Just breathe, and then tell me project updates a little bit more slowly than we've both been speaking for the previous 3 quarters.
Well, I rather want to gloss over them, to be honest. So.
Oh, well, so you wanted it to be quick, did you?
It's not. No, it's not been such a great week this week. A Push Crew. We have 40 subscribers, 27 of which are.
Honestly, I think we might as well abandon Push Crew. It's as dull as anything. Nothing
no.
you ever tell me about Push Crew has been impressive.
No, listen, the thing I realised about it is out of those 27 people who still receive messages from us, we got 2 clicks last week when the thing was released, the episode was released, and that's an 8% conversion, and Push Crew tell you that, it's an 8% conversion. And what I realised was that you're in an email mailing list. If I mailed our mailing list, if we had one, I would be lucky to get a 10% open rate and a 1% click-through rate. So actually, Push Crew, although we've got teeny tiny numbers, is actually pretty good to get 8% click rate from 27 people.
Well, if you're one of the 27 listeners, I love you very much indeed. But 27 is a number that's been static for many weeks now, and therefore does not excite me at all.
Well, they come and go. We get new ones and they drop off. So,
which in itself is a message, isn't it?
Which is interesting, because I have Push Crew on my site, and that's growing fast. That's because they get new notifications every day. And I think that people who want notifications want them more often rather than just one, and they get annoyed when that one comes through once a week.
I think it's probably more to do with the demographic, which is yeah.
Okay, so on iTunes, we're still at number 79 in the What's Hot chart. Libsyn, 10-day trend down, not strongly, but medium down. 1 month trend is up. 3 month trend is down slightly. 1 year trend is up steady.
Okay.
So down, up, down, up.
Yeah. They counter each other out, really, don't they? Down, up, down, up.
Yeah. So, lovely listeners, if you could just share the podcast with one person this week that you think might like it, that would be enormously helpful. That would be
wonderful. In fact, that should be our thing every week.
100 people, 100 to 200 people sharing with one other person would double our listenership.
Which would be great. We would love that.
Yeah, we would. Okay, what is your word? Hang on.
Who or what's impressed?
Yes, that's it.
Yes, you're going to be shocked by this, actually. I've got 2 examples of it, but it's linguists. And my first example of it is the Iraqi Prime Minister, Mr. Abadi, who went to Washington.
Is he a good guy or not a good guy?
Well, you'd think he might be a bad guy, wouldn't you? But he went to Washington this week to meet Mr. Trump and an awful lot of other meetings. Iraq, as you can probably imagine, has been in a terrible place for quite a number of years, but is getting its act very, very much together at the moment. And one of the meetings that he took when he was in Washington was he did an address and then a Q&A to the American Institute of Peace, which I like the sound of. So there was a video of it. I watched it. Don't fall over, but I watched a 45-minute. What was impressive about him was the fluency of complex political thought in his second language. And that demonstrates to me a gifted human being. You know, okay, we can all do it in our first language. Well, actually, most of us can't do a fluency of complex political thought in our first language, let alone a second language. Yeah. And then that reminded me of my client, Christina, who I don't think listens to this, but English is not her first language. It may not even be her second language. She's got multiple languages. But she said to me yesterday, I really get your subtle humour in these things that you put on Facebook. To get that, not in even your first language, subtle humour, not to get it in your first language, possibly not even your second language, but one of your second languages. I'm just impressed by those 2 examples of what that says about people, really.
Yeah, anyone who can speak languages is very...
Well, more than one language, and not just speak, but communicate and think and have a high level of comprehension in more than one language. It's just awesome.
Yeah, that's what drew me to my VA, Patricia. Her spoken English was fantastic, so much so that she was able to make jokes. And the written wasn't all that, but it was 90.
Well, there you go. Mr. Abadi made jokes, and Christina makes jokes, or got my jokes. There's the thing. Maybe that's the example. If you can get humour in another language, and of course, let's face it, that doesn't translate terribly well always, does it?
No, it doesn't. And I've got to say, when she does occasionally write the odd word wrong, it causes immense.
It's quite funny, yeah.
Yeah. Mine is consus. Now, when I was talking to my mastermind group about the beeverywhereonline.com idea, somebody put forward, everyone's talking about the outsourcing and everyone was saying good and bad things about it. And somebody suggested consus, Konsus. I think it's consus.com. It's like an upmarket Upwork, so that they only accept 1% of every one out of every 100 outsourcer that applies to them. Rigorous testing before they're allowed to get onto the consus list of people to, so it's obviously not $5 to $10 an hour. It's something like $25 an hour for certain skilled tasks, but a lot of high level corporates are using it because the quality is so good.
Oh, it would eliminate a lot of time wasting trying to find your person, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah, absolutely. And that was interesting, and it's the best one I've seen. So I wanted to mention it here for all our lovely listeners.
Okay, marvellous. Thank you so much.
I think that's us done now.
It is us done. No, 50 minutes is good, actually. An hour is slightly too long, and 45 minutes is a little bit too short. 50 minutes is good.
We've hit the sweet spot, Judith.
We have, babe.
With a bit of editing, it'll be perfect. I'll see you.
All right. See you next week. Yep. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.